Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Spiritual Connection Show. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So, I'm a transformation coach, I'm an energy healer, shamanic practitioner, and I'm the head of the Transformation Center, which is based in Westport, Connecticut. And the whole purpose of the center is to really help you be who you truly are, to find your strengths, your spiritual connection, and just become who you're meant to be. So we do all of that in service for you. And we have a variety of offerings, in addition to the individual sessions that I do with coaching and healing. We also have workshops, different classes throughout the year. In the warmer months, we work in the backyard where we have a labyrinth and we hold like sound baths and other things back there. So there's a lot going on. And I'm going to put up our slide with the contact info and the website so you can check that out. There we go. So it's Transformation Center CT for Connecticut.com. And there's an event calendar, and you can register for most things right there on the website. So check that out when you get a chance. And one thing that we have on an ongoing basis is a shamanic clinic on Zoom. And this happens the second Tuesday evening of every month. So if you're not familiar with shamanism and you're curious, you can sign up for a 30-minute session. And there's no set fee. It's really by donation, contribution that way. And you get an extraction healing. So it's like a little intro session. It's not a full, usually a full session would be more than an hour, but it really gives you an idea, and it's very helpful. You'll find out pretty quickly if you check it out. So please do. All right. So, and everything else that's going on, you can find out. So there we go. And welcome again to the show. And, the Spiritual Connection Show is all about connection because I just love to talk to new people, find out what they're about, what their journey is, and how they can help you. So I'm excited that today my guest is Stephanie Janis. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So before we start, I'm going to just read a little bit about Stephanie so you can get to know her before we begin. And, I just recently met Stephanie a couple of months ago, I think, at one of, we both belong to this group called TLC, which is a wonderful organization for holistic health practitioners. So you can always check that out online at TLC. I think it's 203 TLC or tribetlc.com. So that's a wonderful resource, right? All right. So Stephanie is a holistic health coach, holistic life coach who helps her clients on a healing journey. She helps those with chronic symptoms and conditions use their illness as a tool in service to their spiritual awakening. I love that. Beautiful. And her specialty is mind, body, soul healing. She uses many modalities, tools, and spiritual practices to help her clients live a happier, more spiritually connected life. And what could be better? So welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you, Katie. Hello to everyone that's listening.
Yeah. So I want to hear all about what you do. But before we do that, the first question I like to ask my guest is just tell us a little bit about your personal spiritual journey thus far, how you got to be doing what you're doing, really anything you want to share about that.
Sure. So I have been on this healing journey for quite a while. I actually started, well, let's see, I guess it probably started around 8 years ago when I started really getting connected to my higher power and God, and I came in my spiritual journey kind of through the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been in recovery. So I started that journey, at that point. And it's been such a beautiful journey, just allowing my vessel to be completely pure of, anything that's mind altering, right? Anything that, even just having a little bit of alcohol, right? Like that is off the table for me. And it just opened up so many beautiful doors. And I love I wouldn't change my sobriety for anything. And I'm so grateful for that. About 6 years ago, I started coming down with chronic symptoms. So I started coming down with like chronic bloating, really bad stomach pain, joint pain, really horrible brain fog where I like couldn't remember like anything. Like if somebody like listed off a few numbers, like I would just immediately forget them. I was working for a naturopath at the time, and she would come in and fire off a bunch of different like things that I needed to do. And like, the minute she would say it, it would just be like out in one ear and out the other ear. And luckily I was working for a naturopath when this was happening, and all of these patients were coming in and they were like, well, I've got brain fog and I've got bloating and like my thyroid is off. And I was like listening to all of like what they were talking about. And I was thinking to myself, this is what's going on with me too. So she started helping me a little bit, and I started realizing like there was something very off. Like my body just didn't feel right. I didn't feel at home in my body. It started gaining weight. I just felt very sluggish and tired all the time. I had no energy, and I was in my late 20s. So I was thinking to myself, this can't be normal for a 20-something-year-old to be waking up and feeling this way, right? So I started doing blood tests, and, I just wasn't getting a lot of answers, even from the naturopath. She was, we figured out that my thyroid was off. So I was put on the thyroid medication. But that wasn't helping the brain fog and the weight gain. And I just was feeling very uncomfortable in my body. Like there was something wrong. And finally, about like maybe 4 years after that, 3 to 4 years after that, I did get a diagnosis of Lyme disease. And I was seeing this functional doctor, and I was spending all of this money doing these really crazy treatments. And I was making some progress, but not as much as I wanted to, right? Like I knew that there was more available. And I remember I was in the doctor's office and I was getting this IV, and the nurse came in and they were eating like Wendy's. And like, as she was eating her Wendy's, which I'm not judging her for, but we were talking about like food, right? And something within me said, like my soul, I think it was like, you can heal yourself with food. Like if you knew the right way to do it, you can do it. And so I asked the nurse, I remember being like, do you think that I could like heal my body with food? And she was like, oh no, like that's not possible. Like, and then I started thinking, and I'm like, well, here I am at this doctor's office, like fortunate enough to be able to drop a really significant amount of money every month on these really expensive treatments. And I started thinking, well, what about the people that can't afford this? Like, it's not, like there has to be another way to do it that's more economical, that is more effective, that doesn't involve just spending all of this money on treatments and supplements and not even fully healing, right? Like not even fully getting there. So it was by chance. I was living in LA when this happened, and a friend of mine, I'll never forget it. I didn't feel well. I really didn't want to go, but my then fiance at the time was like, hey, let's go to the farmer's market. Like, come on. And I was like, I don't feel well. And he was like, let's go. We're going to go meet Haley and her boyfriend. And Haley's boyfriend at the time was also, I had never met him before. But he also was dealing with chronic symptoms, and he started telling me about the medical medium. And normally I like if somebody was telling me something like that, like at the state of mind that I was in at that time, I would have been like, yeah, okay, whatever, like, sure. But something within me was like, no, listen to this guy. And he was like, yeah, I've been healing my body with food. Like, here's what I've been doing. Order these books. And so I immediately, I went home, I ordered the books, I read them. And I was just like engrossed in the information, and I read it, and I was like, this is the truth, and this medical medium actually channels health information from a higher source, that's like years ahead of its time. And how he was describing what was happening in my body was like, I couldn't have even put it into words. And here this man was writing this book, and it was like everything that I was trying to articulate into words, like he was saying about, and I was like, this is like written for me, right? So the solution he was saying is like, you can heal your body with food. You can heal your body with a low-fat plant-based diet. And I was trying, doctors and practitioners and everyone was telling me like, eat high fat, high protein diet, like avoid fruit, like, it's really bad for gut health. So I had been avoiding fruit at this time. I was eating lots of protein, lots of fat, and I wasn't getting any better. Right. And I knew like my body just didn't feel right the way that I was eating. So basically, he was saying eat an abundance of fruit and vegetables, right? Like make that the focus, make the fruit the focus. Like don't worry about eating too much of it. Your body needs fruit because it's this miraculous healing gift from God. And we've been kind of like steered away from fruit. So he was saying like, eat it in abundance, eat it in abundance. Don't worry about gaining weight, getting fat. Like just, that's what you need to do. So I started doing that. And I started getting into like raw food and raw veganism. And I did an entire month of raw veganism. And within that month, I had like, and it was a low fat. So it was like mostly fruit, it was like maybe a half of an avocado a day, and then just like mostly fruit and vegetables. So I started going to the bathroom again regularly. My chronic bloating went away. I was, regular going like 3-4 times a day. My stomach pain was gone. I had lost like 10 pounds. I just started feeling better, and I was eating that way and just eating so much like high vibrational foods. My body was just like, yes, like we need more of this, more of this. So I knew I was on the right track. And within 3 months, I didn't go completely raw within the 3 months, but I started adding it back in things like steamed potatoes, steamed vegetables, squash, those kinds of things. And I was able to get off my thyroid medicine. My thyroid had completely normalized, which, basically like doctors, that's like unheard of. Like you go on that medicine and you stay on it. So I was able to get off of it. I had reduced probably like 5 to 10 of my chronic symptoms within 3 months. I had really bad like ovarian cysts. I ended up in the ER, and those were gone. So my body was healing, right? And I knew that I was onto something here. I was like, this is miraculous, because I was really concerned and like worried kind of that I was going to be stuck with these symptoms, and now they're going away. And so I started on this beautiful journey of like cleansing and detoxing my body. And then about 8 months into that journey, I just started intuitively like kind of coming to this inner knowing that more work needed to be done around my like emotional healing, releasing trauma, releasing any like stored up like energy from the past. I needed to start doing a lot of mindset work and just, positivity, faith, like staying in faith and really connecting to something deeper, like a higher power. So I just started kind of going on this journey of like holistic healing and knowing like kind of what I came to the conclusion of was that disease, like dis-ease, is the result of these like toxic thought patterns, right? That we hold. It's like the result of not loving ourselves. It's a result of constantly talking horribly to ourselves and then living out of alignment with who we truly are. Right. So we've like lost the knowing of our true nature, and we're kind of wandering around lost, and our body is telling us that there's something wrong. Right. So to give us a pill as a fix, or to, just be strictly focusing on the physical component of it, in my experience and what I see with clients, is not enough. We have to go deeper into the spiritual, mental, emotional side of things. So once I started really going within and sitting with these emotions, allowing them to come up from the past, processing through these old hurts and traumas, I started using practices like breath work, getting into more of like somatic healing, intuitive movement, all of these practices that like connect you with your soul, like doing mirror work, right? Starting to use affirmations and dance and just bringing joy back into my life. Like these were all really important tools. And these are what I teach clients, because it's not about like physical health so much as it's like we need to get ourselves back into alignment in a lot of different areas. And then the health, I believe, is like a natural byproduct of living like taking care of your body, right? Taking care of your mind, loving yourself, and getting in touch with your soul. So I teach, all of these different ways, right, that you can connect with yourself again and facilitate deep healing, because I found there was such a lack of that in modern medicine, right? As a lot of us kind of come to know in this space, like it's just, they're missing the mark. And, my intention for this coaching business is to fill in the gap, right? And to really create this holistic view of the person, and to help my clients to really explore some of this like material that's coming up for them. So like using situations, I'm also certified in spiritual psychology. So like, using our triggers and our pain, right, to propel our spiritual journey forward. So that's what I say, like using their illness as a tool in service to their spiritual awakening. Like, what is this here to teach me? And what I found is that chronic illness is almost like spiritual boot camp. Like we're being called to evolve in a way. Like what it did for me was I cleaned up my diet in a way that I never would have. I never would have stopped eating the occasional, ice cream, or, temporarily indulging in foods that weren't serving me. And once I stopped doing that, I realized like how much it affected me, even only sometimes, right? Because we're so sensitive when we're chronically ill. So I was able to clean up my diet in a way that I never would have. I was able to like be propelled on this journey of self-discovery and find my purpose, right? So it all was serving this purpose. And I was working these jobs that like I wasn't really fulfilled in. I was always working in sales at like these tech companies. And like it just wasn't really what aligned with my spirit. And I never felt like I belonged there, but I was too afraid to like step out on my own. And I was like just buying into all of my fears and limiting beliefs. Before this journey, I didn't realize like, oh, I can choose what I believe. Like, I don't have to like believe what I've been believing my whole life,
Yes. Isn't that a wonderful revelation once we know
Yeah,
that? Yes,
it
yes.
really is. And it's very empowering. And like at first I was mad. I was like, well, I've been like programmed to, and I was really upset. But then once I kind of dealt with that part of it, right? I think that that's just part of the process once you figure out like, yeah. But then it's like, okay, like if I can just trust that like I'm doing the work to shift this and like know that it's not all on me, right? There's a divine source working too. So like I'm, putting the intention out there and shifting the beliefs, and then I'm just leaving the results in the hands of something greater than me. I can
Yes, that's
continue.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I can continue on this path and know and trust that like I'm on the right path. And, that's what this journey has been about for me. And I'm at this point so grateful that it happened, and it's like, it took me off this trajectory that I wasn't really happy on. And it put me in tune with my soul again. And I
Yes.
couldn't be, more blessed to have something like that happen, and I try to get my clients just to see that, right, that this is actually happening for them, that this is helping them to evolve on their spiritual path, right? And then, looking at chronic illness like that, but looking at any challenging thing that happens, right, in life is like, how can I grow through this, and what is this here to teach me? Has gotten me through really challenging and difficult times, and has allowed me to grow through those times and, evolve through those times. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, I guess.
That is
But
quite, it's beautiful, everything you said, Stephanie. It is quite a journey that you're describing. And I think this is so helpful for other people to hear, because, it's really hard to see the possibilities when you're kind of right in it, when you're kind of in the midst of that difficult experience, whatever it is, like you said, if it's physical or emotional, spiritual, mental, all of those things, it's hard to see it. So I think this is really helpful for people to know that, you can just kind of figure it out as you go along, and you did once you had that intention, right?
Absolutely. And it's really, it comes down to trust, faith
Mm.
and trust in the divine, and, whatever it is that you believe in, that you're not alone through the process is really, really important, because there were times that I felt alone and I felt like I had to do everything myself and it was too overwhelming. Right. So I always try to encourage people to, devote some time every day to spiritual practices, whether that's prayer or meditation, journaling, something to kind of help to get you to the answers within, and also, connecting with something larger, because, the journey in chronic illness can be lonely, right? Because it can be isolating. So, and I think that that is part of the reason it is that way, is because, we need to get in contact with God, right? To get us
Mhm.
through those difficult times.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's a really good point. And, I just realized when you were talking that I don't think I put up your contact info at the beginning. And this is how to get in touch with Stephanie. And we'll
mhm.
show it again at the end. So, but you can connect with her email, phone, text, or on Instagram. That's her Instagram page. It's Stephanie with 2 underlines, or just search probably Stephanie Janis and you'll find it. So sorry, I forgot to put that up earlier. We just got right into it, which is great, because that's
Of
the
course.
important part. Yeah, what people want to hear. And I love what you said about not being alone. I think that is it's really an eye opener for a lot of people, because in my experience, and you might agree or not, that with clients, a lot of times, or just people we know ourselves, we have a hard time asking for help
Mhm.
or
Of
accepting
course.
help.
Of
You know,
course. Yeah. And as
that's
coaches, I
part of the
think,
programming, right? Yeah.
right. Yeah. And as coaches, I think it can come, like, at this point, it's like a little more natural to us because we've been doing it and we've seen the value in it. Like, we've seen how investing in ourselves produces incredible results, right? Like, it's a no-brainer for me to make a stretch and invest in somebody that I know is going to help get me to the next level, help me, remove a block. They have information that I need, or just even simply investing money to be in the space of somebody who has like an elevated frequency that I can be in, actually has helped me, just being in somebody's energy that has been along that path and has that higher frequency is helpful for me. It has an effect on me. So I've worked with
Yes.
coaches simply for that reason, like, because I know that they can hold that space, and I know that, like, it's going to just be a profound on my own, like, soul's transformation, just to be in a space with them. But
I
what
agree.
I'm
I agree.
kind of getting at is, like, we understand that, but like for somebody that's kind of new to the coaching arena, like, I remember the first time I made that investment, I didn't really understand, like, oh, investing in myself, like, should be like a first priority, right? Like, I shouldn't even be worrying about, like, oh, how am I going to make this work? Like, do I have enough money? Like, all the things that go through my head, because I know if I get that help that I need, if I invest in myself and seek support for myself, like, the universe is going to reward that always, right? Like, if I choose me and I choose love for myself and I choose to invest in myself, something good is always, always, always going to come of that. Like, it's never going to be a bad decision. I'm never going to be in a place where, I'm out of, like, I'm left hung to dry. Like, you know what I mean? I fully believe that the universe supports those who are willing to evolve and to do this work. So it's, I think that I would encourage anybody that feels stuck, or like they just don't know what direction to go in, to, take that leap of faith and invest in a coach that's going to be able to help you get to where you need to go, to give you the information that you need, or to even just be able to help support you on your path, right? Like, to just have somebody that understands and has been through something similar, like, that can help hold your hand through the process has been really important for me in every step of
Yeah.
my journey. Like, I'm always investing in coaches and programs, and anything that I can to kind of support my spiritual growth has been so important.
Yes. No,
So
I agree. I feel the same way. I'm
mhm.
continually taking new trainings, investing, and
Yeah.
being what you said about being with people of a higher vibration or more experience on the path. I learned the other day, and I learned something new every day. And I was with somebody who has very high vibration. And what he shared was that just being with someone, you can absorb some of what they have. It's not like you have to mentally, take a class or write this stuff down. It's not intellectual, in other
Yeah.
words. You can absorb it energetically where it helps you evolve. So I thought, wow, that's, I guess maybe I knew that, somewhere
Yeah.
unconsciously, but I'd never really heard it articulated. So I was happy to hear that. So,
Yeah,
well, let me
absolutely.
ask you a question. So how did you transition into the coaching? Like why did you choose coaching as your new profession?
So I decided it was kind of like just divinely inspired. I was out of work because of the Lyme disease and I was on this healing path, and it just kind of hit me. Like I was confused. Like I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't go back to this old way of life, but I don't know how to move forward. What should I do? Right. And it just kind of was like channeled to me, like, you need to be a coach. And I was like, all right. So I started investing in myself and doing courses. And I started with a spiritual psychology course. Because I really did want to have a foundation in like life coaching and really helping clients through, being able to process through, um, difficult experiences, challenging experiences, anything that's causing them upset or they need clarity on. Like I really wanted to be able to hold space in that way. So I started with that certification, and then, I just continue on like looking for other certifications, right? Like I'm in the process of doing a neuro linguistic programming certification.
Oh, I
Anything
love
that has helped
NLP.
me. Yeah. And then I've done countless programs with other spiritual coaches where I've just learned so many different modalities, how to kind of raise your vibration, how to live in spiritual alignment, how to love yourself, how to be the best version of yourself, right? And really like taking those practices and as I incorporate them into my own life, sharing them with my clients too, because I really don't like to teach anything that hasn't worked for me. Like I'm just, sharing my path and kind of like the tools that I have. And that's kind of how I like to coach. Like it's just really just, you know, basically share everything that I have in my toolkit and just see like what resonates with them.
Yeah,
So that's kind of
yeah.
the approach
No,
that I take.
yeah, well, that's kind of similar for me. Yeah, yeah, because everybody needs something a little bit different, and you
Mhm.
don't really know until you start to uncover what that is. And it's great to have all these tools in your toolbox because, it's really serving people in a way that they need. So I love that. It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're going to just wrap up in about another minute. Is there anything else that you can think of that you haven't shared already that you would like to let people know about?
Yeah, so I do offer one-on-one coaching sessions, and we do dive deep into, what symptoms that you're experiencing, right? We kind of go into your history, just I try to find out as much as I can about you, right? And then we create a tailor program just for you. So I work with medical medium protocols, but there are so many of them. So I help my clients like really tailor a program that's going to work for them. So we go deep into like detox, supplementation, you know, basically like diet tweaks that you can make that like will put your body in a state of detoxification again so that you can start to heal, right? And then again we talk about like the mindset and the spirituality, and we kind of I use these sessions almost like spiritual talk therapy as well. So we're going into the body, and then we're also going into the mind, body, soul, right? So it's all of those different things.
That's
So if you are
great.
looking to book a session, please get in touch with me. I do free consultations to see if my coaching is right for you, and I would love to hear from you. And I'm available to hold space for you if you're on the journey of healing chronic illness.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Stephanie. I'm really happy we got to share everything today. And thank you for everybody for being here. Namaste.
Thanks, everyone.